Time now for our next inductee as we bring you our inaugural award for lifetime achievement. Hold on a second. Ted Morris, Ned Morton, Ed Morris. Ed Morris, could you come up, please? Ed Morris.
That tonight's gonna be a good night. That tonight's gonna be a good night. That tonight's gonna be a
All right, don't start that video yet. We got a few things to say first. A special introduction right now. Ladies and gentlemen, when you think of someone, I'm being serious, when you think of someone who has meant so much to Suffolk County, someone who has spent years in public service and spent so many of these years giving back to the community in so many ways, someone who has supported sports at a local level and the opportunities it provides youngsters, athletes, coaches, and administrators, someone who has touched so many lives along the way, a family man who has become a part of the family of all of us, a man of great humor, a tremendous and loyal friend. When you think of such a person, you think, of course, of George Wallbauer, who is sitting over there. But we're not here to talk about him tonight. For some reason, we're giving this Lifetime Achievement Award to Eddie Morris. That's right, Eddie. For all the things you've ever said about me, I'm turning this into a roast. So just stand there. Some people say Eddie is full of himself, a tiresome blabbermouth who just keeps on yapping and doesn't know when to stop. There's nothing else that I have to say about that. That's just what people say. The Lifetime Achievement Award is usually presented to someone in any field who doesn't have much lifetime left. That is not true with Eddie. I mean, just look at him. What a physical specimen. The fact that he has so totally and utterly disregarded a healthy lifestyle and is still walking is obviously giving us all hope. Nonetheless, we want to hurry this along just to make sure he's still here when I'm done with my introduction. Eddie actually has lost lots of weight over the years. I'm not kidding. He's lost a great deal of weight, so much, in fact, the weight he's lost is being bar mitzvahed next week. That's how much weight he has lost. That's right, Eddie. I'll tell you, roses are red, violets are bliss. Here we go, Eddie, time for your bris. Here we go. If you know Eddie Morris at all, you know one thing. He knows everyone, the most well-connected man on the planet. If you walked up to Eddie tonight and said, listen, Ed, I got a penguin in my backyard who needs his nails done, Eddie would say to you, no problem, I know a guy who knows a guy. And then tomorrow, a penguin manicurist would show up on your front step. All of us are connected to this wonderful and generous, if not marginally good-looking man. So, after this huge and totally undeserved build-up, time for another bus ride. Here we go. Now, doesn't that Eddie Morris, the cartoon, look better than the real Ed? There he is, waving Chris Vaccaro off, saying he's already ordered an Uber. The brief Ed Morris bio. From Sachem High School, the Suffolk Sports Hall of Fame, the outstanding Suffolk PAL baseball complex, and so much in between. We bring you some of the many highlights of all he's done. You are about to enjoy Eddie's incredible photo gallery, some of the many sports stars who were fortunate enough to have their photos taken with Eddie. A graduate of the class of 1967 at Sachem. From there to Suffolk Community College. At age 22, the Suffolk County Sheriff's Department as deputy sheriff. Graduating from the Suffolk County Police Academy at the top of his class. They must have graded on a huge curve. Numerous awards and citations during his 30-year law enforcement career. He retired in 1999 as undersheriff. In 1992, Eddie served on the Suffolk Sports Hall of Fame Board of Directors and was named executive director in 2000. Look at all those photos and celebrities. Eddie also spearheaded the successful effort to open a museum and learning center in downtown Patchogue, which he did in October of 2008. The collapse of the national economy caused financial trouble everywhere. The museum closed in 2013, but with Ed at the helm, the Suffolk Sports Hall of Fame survived, opening its exhibit at Long Island MacArthur Airport, the Southwest Airlines Terminal, and another exhibit at the home of the Long Island Ducks, Bethpage Ballpark. His tireless efforts have kept this Hall of Fame alive. His accomplishments everywhere, too numerous to mention. But 1990, he was appointed to the board of directors of the Suffolk County PAL. In 1995, commissioner of PAL baseball, he raised and oversaw the funds and construction of the 1,200-seat baseball stadium at the PAL complex in Holbrook, something he and so many of us are proud of. Ed has brought the National Wounded Warriors amputee softball team to Suffolk to play exhibition games here, raising funds and awareness for our wounded but undaunted heroes. He retired as Suffolk Sports Hall of Fame Executive Director last year, but will always be a major part of what we do here now and in the future. He's been married to Lorraine for 50 years. She deserved the plaque, not him. 3 terrific children, 5 grandchildren, those of us lucky enough, blessed to call him friend, are extended members of his family. Ladies and gentlemen, the Suffolk Sports Hall of Fame presenting its inaugural Lifetime Achievement Award, Edward J. Morris.
Well, if I knew it was going to be a roast, I would have had a different speech to make. David is the only guy who is more full of you-know-what than me. I shouldn't say that. George Wallbauer is in the audience. But let me start off by first thanking David. Thank you, David. David has been serving as MC for as long as I've been the executive director of the Suffolk Sports Hall of Fame. 18 years, not 17, 18 years. I went on the board of directors in 1992. My good buddy and law enforcement buddy, George Wallbauer, asked me to come aboard. And I became a board member in 1992. And for 7 or 8 years, it was a handful of guys sitting in a church in Smithtown, upstairs in a small little room, drinking a few beers and discussing athletes in Suffolk County. And then in 1999, a good friend named John Canis, CEO of Norfolk Bank back then, donated a building in Patchogue to the Hall of Fame. And from that point on, I had just retired from the Sheriff's Department after 30 years, and George asked me to consider taking over as executive director now that we had a building and an entire organization. I at first said no. I thought, well, after all the years and all the days I was away from my family, maybe I would stay home with my wife. And talk at breakfast and, stuff like that. I retired on December 17th, and the day after January 1st, 3 weeks maybe, I was sitting at the kitchen table, and my wife says, is that job still open they offered you? Yeah, I think so. Let me make a call. Yeah, I got to leave. Where you going? I got the new job. And 18 years later, I'm here. But let me start off by thanking Chris Vaccaro for taking over the position, and so far, I think you're all in agreement. Looks like he's done a pretty good job. So I want to thank the Board of Directors and Induction Committee for honoring me tonight. I appreciate it. It wasn't expected. Believe me, it wasn't. And I appreciate it very much. I'd like to give a few thank yous out. First off, for the Board of Directors that served under me for a good portion of those 18 years. A long-time 8 or 9-year president of our Board of Directors, Bobby Brown. Bobby's here. Thank you, Bobby. Our vice president, you heard a little bit about him. He's a good old friend of mine for a lot of years. He's the executive director for probably well over 30 years of the Suffolk County Police Athletic League, my buddy George Wallbauer. Our treasurer and secretary for years is still on the board serving with Chris today. He couldn't be here, Mike LaNegro, but his father, Rich, who was also on our board for several years and retired. Rich Lenegro is here. And Rich, it's great to see you. I hope you're feeling as good as you look. By the way, Rich is the proprietor of Port Jeff Sporting Goods. So keep that in mind when you're looking to buy some uniforms for your team. He's a great guy. And of course, there was the only female we had on our board, Lois Cloud Melanzak. Lois, thanks so much. And Lois is serving on the board with Chris right now. There was Chris Dwyer and Dennis Donovan. And then there was a fellow named Mike Ryan, who I don't think Mike's here tonight. I know his son is here. Mike was on our board for years, was a great supporter. He is the proprietor, owner of Land Tech, which builds a lot of the ball fields here in Suffolk County, high schools, Nassau County, all over the country. NFL stadiums, they do a great job. I know Mike for 25 years. 25 years ago, when we were building the PAL Stadium, Mike donated his time and services free of cost. And that's the type of guy he is. Mike Ryan, thanks so much for Mike. And then I'd like to thank somebody. For 18 years, I took a lot of credit for a person who was really the backbone of the Suffolk Sports Hall of Fame. She's been my friend since we were teenagers, 13, 14 years old, and she's here tonight. She came up from Delaware, where she's living now. Nancy Hines, my assistant for 18 years. Stand up, Nancy. Nancy. Nancy's the best. I love her. I would like to thank one or two elected officials over the years who've been very good to the Sports Hall of Fame. And the one person who is outstanding in youth programs and supporting and generosity with his title, Caesar Trunzo, Senator Caesar Trunzo from Islip. He passed away a few years ago, but this guy did everything for the Hall of Fame, PAL, and so many other groups, and I really wanted to recognize him. I'd like to thank former Congressman Mike Forbes, former Congressman Tim Bishop, former Suffolk County Legislative Presiding Officer Bill Lindsay, Sr., County Executive Steve Ballone, and a great guy, Ed Romaine, the supervisor at Town of Brookhaven, who's been so helpful with the Wounded Warriors amputee softball team playing on the Brookhaven town fields. I'd like to thank all the volunteers over the years, and many of them are here. My sister, my favorite sister, Tricia, my brother Johnny, his wife Betty, Bill Senia, all these people are volunteers who helped out at all of our events, and I appreciate it very much. There are two people who I really want to thank, two inductees of this Hall of Fame, who no matter what you asked of them, they always came forward and gave it their all. They're two great people. Marty Lyons, I think Marty's still here. Marty Lyons. Marty, thank you so much, Marty. Marty runs the Marty Lyons Foundation, does so much for so many kids who are looking for their last wishes. He's a great guy. I had the honor of being honored by the Marty Lyons Foundation with the Leon Hess Award back a few years ago. Marty, I appreciate all the time and effort you've given to this Hall of Fame, and I hope you continue with Chris. Thank you, Marty. The other person is Buddy Harrelson. And Buddy, I'll tell you, there's nobody like him. If you asked Buddy in I think it was 1991, I asked Buddy to come out to Eastport High School where my boys were attending high school there. And we ran a golf tournament for them. Their athletic booster club had been running fundraisers for years, and the most money they ever raised was $725. And I ran a golf tournament, and I'll never forget it. First off, I had the whole New York Islanders team out there back in those days, a bunch of retired guys, and Pat LaFontaine, Bobby Nystrom, a whole bunch of guys. And I asked Buddy to come out, and Buddy came out wearing a Mets jersey, sat there all day. By the way, this was in April. I did it during the Easter break. The weather was like 28 degrees. Buddy sat out there all day long signing autographs, At that point, I believe he was still the manager of the New York Mets. I met Buddy in 1986 at a golf tournament for PAL. I'll tell you what, my foursome on that day's event was Buddy Harrelson. He brought a young shortstop with him who had just been called up to the Mets 2 months before, Kevin Elster. Kevin didn't last too long for us. About the 11th hole, he had too many beers and we had to put him in his car. And I'll tell you, my fourth guy that I played with was someone by the name of Willie Mays. And I thought to myself, Willie Mays, if you're a baseball fan like I am, I happen to be a New York Yankee. I hope the Yankees are sweeping the Red Sox tonight. And I thought, Willie Mays, wow. Well, by the end of the 18th hole, I almost turned into a Met fan. Buddy Harrelson, I can't say enough about him. He's having some health problems. He's battling. And I hope it works out for him. Anyway, go to Duck Stadium. Buddy's there. Say hello, and hopefully he'll recognize you. And I know somewhere along the line it'll make him feel good. With that, let me end by thanking my family. My family is here tonight. My daughter Jackie and her husband Victor. My grandson, one of my grandsons, an all-county football player last year, Sammy. My son Eddie, my son Michael, and of course my brothers are here. And you've heard that I've been married 50 years this year. 50 long years. Now, the son of Sam, this guy, what did he do? He murdered, where's the sheriff? He murdered 6 people. He was eligible for parole after 20 years. He got less time than I did. Something's wrong. But I will tell you this, through all my years as a PBA president, as a legislative chairman, this was my idea. Can you imagine that? So let me end it real quick. After all those years, I wouldn't change anything with my wife, Lorraine. I love her. She's been my girlfriend since I'm 13 years old. 50 years. I wouldn't have it any other way. My wife, Lorraine. David Weiss, Chris, thank you so much. Thank you.